Hey everybody, my name is Hari. I am part of the emerging products team here at HashiCorp, and I'm excited to talk to you about Consul-Terraform-Sync and our latest release, 060. So I'll quickly cover some of the most important features with this new release, and then we'll review network infrastructure automation workflows that Consul-Terraform-Sync enables, and then we'll do a demonstration of it as well. So here are some of the main features that's part of this new release. Consul-Terraform-Sync is now able to auto-register with Consul server infrastructure. It can auto-complete commands for you. It also has a API endpoint that you can use to check its health, the number of tasks it's running. More importantly, CTS can also now support officially HCP Consul. HCP Consul is our managed service for Consul, fully managed by HashiCorp, so you don't have to worry about it. And so we'll take a look at HCP Consul and how it ties with CTS. We can also support Terraform Cloud Agents, which is how Terraform Cloud is able to bridge on-prem private infrastructures to Terraform Cloud. And now CTS can work with workspaces automatically that have Terraform Cloud Agents. So let's review the workflow, and then we'll do a demonstration right after that. So network infrastructure automation is extremely important, and we'll see why and how it adds value through this workflow. So let's imagine an infrastructure where there's a front-end application that public users are logging onto, and then that's built using back-end applications that developers and users need access to. And it's all part of a centralized infrastructure that platform owners and admin owners and admins are managing. Typically, they need some form of infrastructure as code. We're going to use Terraform Cloud for the scenario. And then Consul obviously is going to be your service registry. And then we'll see Consul-Terraform-Sync and its purpose here in a minute. So the most important thing that platform owners care about is, how do I secure all of this interaction? How do I secure services to services interaction, and also users trying to log on to these applications? How do I make sure that everything is secure and has good governance policies? So typically, all of this infrastructure has some level of network and network security infrastructure to go along with it. And while from a day zero standpoint, platform owners can manage the implementation of it, it gets a little challenging when applications change dynamically through its lifecycle. So imagine a new application comes online, they need access to that new service, or that service needs access to another service. Typically, application owners have to open a manual ticket and then let the platform admin owners know that, hey, I need access to this new service. And that takes time, error prone, and so it can transfer to dollars lost. And so automating this infrastructure can be very important. Even if they use infrastructure as code principles already to automate it, automate the deployment, the handoff is still kind of manual, and we want to try and automate that as well. That's what Consul-Terraform-Sync is able to do. And a big piece of that is the Consul control plane, which is able to dynamically discover all your applications using its client infrastructure, and it's able to do dynamic health checking. And so real-time knows the health and location and other metadata information about all the applications. And platform owners can get access to this control plane and keep an eye on all of that. And when things change in the application infrastructure, previously they had to do a manual handoff, but with this Consul-Terraform-Sync in place, imagine Consul, HCP Consul, knowing about the location and all of the services that are coming online, and it informing your infrastructure as code pipeline through Consul-Terraform-Sync. Now there's no longer the manual handoff. Services come online, Consul informs Terraform, and Terraform automatically deploys the needed security infrastructure changes so that these new services have access to other services. Now, all that is done, can be done by notifying the platform and admin owners, it doesn't happen in silos. And it also makes sure that, they get some governance on top of that. You can use things like Sentinel policy enforcement that's part of Terraform Enterprise. So security with governance. And so even if some of these services come online and then they leave, they get deregistered automatically by Consul, so they don't get access anymore, even through your network and network security infrastructure, right? Or somebody else trying to be, trying to come and join the network, they won't be able to, because they won't be able to register to the service registry, and so they won't be even part of these changing dynamic infrastructure. And so completely secure, again, with governance for platform and admins. So let's take a look and see actually this in action. So before we do that, let's take a look at our Consul cluster in HCP that I mentioned. Here's the one I'm running right now. You can get details like version, how long it's running, is it stable, that kind of information. Then if you want to connect that to other client infrastructure, really easy to do. It doesn't matter what platforms they exist in. You can use a step-by-step tutorial, or you can use Terraform to deploy all this. And then obviously you can also use and get guidelines on how to connect through your network infrastructure to those client infrastructures. And also you can get access information, and you can also download, all the important information needed to connect your client infrastructure with HCP Consul server infrastructure. So really easy to do, extremely simplified. The objective here is to reduce operational burden. And also we do things like snapshots to make sure, one, is it healthy? And if it's healthy, let's make sure we keep snapshots in time. So should something happen, we can quickly revert back to that snapshot in time. So fully managed service from HashiCorp for Consul. The end result is that now I can see my Consul infrastructure, and this is the Consul server UI, and you can see I have a bunch of services already registered, a lot of applications that those users are deploying, and developers, etc., that all need access to each other. And you'll also notice here there's a CTS service that's installed and registered. That's our Consul-Terraform-Sync service that's going to help with this network infrastructure automation workflow. It's already registered. Let's go take a look to see how CTS was able to do that. Here's the configuration. If you use CTS before, you're probably familiar with most of them. So I'll highlight the differences here. The main difference is in the Consul access section, you can provide what's called service registration. This enables that automatic service registration for CTS with Consul. And then we can automatically retrieve licenses that I mentioned, and that is set to true here. So that's some of the main parts of the configuration. The rest should be familiar: access to Terraform Cloud, the task information, etc. So let's go take a look at the service Consul Terraform-Sync service itself. I mentioned that you can automatically register. You can see that in the logs that CTS was able to do that. And you can also take a look at some of the debug logs to see that Consul Terraform-Sync was able to register with the server, grab the license, retrieve it, and then install it as well. And then I think I mentioned you can also do auto completion. So here's all the commands possible with our Consul Terraform-Sync start command. So if I were to run that, I see config file as an option, and then you can see you can just tab and CTS auto complete those commands for you. And then the API endpoints are very helpful to check the health of CTS. So you can do that with this API command. And when you get a valid request ID, that means that CTS is healthy. Slightly different API command endpoint. This now gives me all the tasks that the CTS instance is running. And at the moment, I'm just running one. So it gives you that information as well. So we've seen some of the, very important functionalities that's part of CTS now in release 0.6.0, and working with HCP Consul is a big one. So we reviewed that as well. So now actually let's go through the entire workflow and actually do a live demonstration of the workflow. So Here's my test instance. It's called HCP test instance. That's the service name as well. And the IP is 5159. If I look at my HCP console now, I don't see that. So it's not registered. So this is the CLI, but here's the actual UI where they're trying to access the applications in the backend, and they currently cannot. Because they're not actually part of the workflow. They're not registered with Consul, which we saw in the UI. So let's go ahead and register them. Of course, they can only do that with proper credentials, etc. In this point in time, I'm just going to start the Consul agent, which will basically register the service if it's allowed to do so. And you can see that now it actually synced the node info, the service is registered, all of that. So this typically triggers a automatic run. So going back to the actual workflow, when new services come online, they register with Consul. That triggers a workflow with Terraform because of Consul-Terraform-Sync. And that's what just happened. And I just got a Slack notification. If I go take a look, it looks like a new Terraform run happened. So if I go take a look at that Terraform run, it tells me that it's running the plan and it's adding resources to a security group. And you can see that IP address of my test instance. So once this plan completes, we'll be able to get some of the details. It actually just completed. So you can see that as soon as it registered, that CIDR block is now added into the security elements. And so the end result we're hoping is that this new user with complete security is able to get access to the services it needs access to. These notifications are fairly easy to set up. You can do Slack email. In this case, I don't know if you noticed, but you can see that it's automatically applying. That's by choice. You can have manual applies, going back to where Slack can notify your admin and platform owners. And also you can have Sentinel policy, and you can have it manual applies as well. So you have governance on all of this. So let's see that the run actually applied and apply finished successfully. So if I check the UI, I see that the instance is actually registered, which is what kicked off all of this. With CTS, we saw on the CTS instance that it kicked off the workflow. We saw on Terraform Cloud that the workflow actually happened. So the last thing to check is the user actually able to now reach the applications? Of course they are. And so you can see that now they're actually able to hit only because they were able to securely register. And now they can go and order applications through the front end, order coffee through the front end. And more importantly, if this is a developer or user that need access to the applications and the backend applications to build the front end, etc., now they have access to that as well in a secure fashion. So to wrap it all up, I'll go back and quickly review the workflow. What we just did is we had a new application register itself with Consul with the help of Consul client, and it registered with HCP Consul. And then we saw that that service was registered. It showed up in the Consul UI. And then it also triggered a workflow with CTS. We saw it on the CTS instance. And then we saw it on Terraform Cloud that it ran. We saw a notification come through for the owners, platform owners. And in the end, we saw the actual change it made. And the end result was that this application was now able to talk to these applications. And finally, just here's a summary again of all the new functionalities that's part of CTS versions 0.6.0. Lot of really cool features. I urge you to go check out and try these out. I hope you find it helpful, and I hope to see you again. Thank you.